So the 1st of November has come and gone. And what did we learn in addition to what we already knew in the Kiely Rodni case? Don't think we really learned anything whatsoever. All we really learned was that things can happen where all of the answers aren't provided, and we just have to get on with it. And I've understood and realised that that's it now. That is it. Because there is nothing that we're going to do to change what has happened. But I want to leave this. I am going to do a live on Sunday, and we will talk about this one last time. I'm not saying I'm leaving it forever, and I know I've said that I'm not going to do any more videos, and I have, and I've had time to think and reflect, and I think the more that I talk about it, the more angry I get now. You go through that where you're sad and you're upset, and then you get angry and frustrated. And, we'll continue to do stuff in the background and see what's going on, but we have to bring this to a close. But I want to do it, and I want to leave a message out there to all of the people who were happy just to say that this was an accident. And Kiely Rodni lost her life because she went to a party, she took some substances, she got in a car, went the wrong way, and drove into a reservoir with no one knowing, no one seeing, and nobody being to blame, and nobody needs to be held or should be held accountable. Because that's what you're saying. When you're sticking up for the family, like the mum, and you're sticking up for the friends and saying leave them alone, that's what you're saying. You're saying that Kiely's death comes with no repercussion, because there are no repercussions to be had. And anybody who says any different is just a conspiracy theorist. Define conspiracy theorist for me. What is a conspiracy theorist? Is it someone who simply has looked at the multiple coincidences that provide no answers, or answers that can consistently be pulled apart, and you turn around and say they're a conspiracy theorist because they're reading into things too much? They're not just accepting what we're told. They're not accepting the most simplest explanation. Because that's what you're saying in this. I see Occam's razor all the time. And I think to myself, that's the mentality we have. That's the world we live in, where we're taught and trained by media, by politics, to accept what we are told, and no questions can be asked. We're told to care more about what celebrities are doing, what they're eating, what the big trends are in clothing and food and films. And these cases, such as Kiely's, hidden in the abundance of other more important things. The amount of people out there who just don't understand that corruption does exist, and it does exist on these levels, where something can go wrong within a community and the community wants to keep it quiet, because if it explodes and it has repercussions on them, then that will hurt them financially. So there are benefits to them handling it in specific ways. The Truckee way. So I put it to you, who was mostly in the wrong? Was it the people who were happy to let Kiely's death simply be ruled, death by misadventure? tragic accident, or the people who questioned the multiple things that didn't add up? And people will say, well, what didn't add up? Multiple things didn't add up. I've had friends who have been killed in accidents, and never ever have I seen them cremated or buried with such haste as in this case. Never. I've seen autopsy reports and toxicology reports from where my own mum took her own life, and the toxicology report and the autopsy report that was put out with regards to Kiely Rodni's death has issues with it, multiple issues. And as many people as there are that say that it's fine and it was done, there are just as many people who pick up on those issues and say that there were things missing, things not done, incompletion. How do we know what happened on that night, truly? How does anybody know who was not there? That's what you have to think with this case. If you were not there, you do not know what happened. So nobody, not me, not you, not the accident camp, not the foul play camp, nobody knows. All we can do is look at the evidence that we're provided with and make a decision on whether we feel justice was served. And I don't see enough evidence to close the book on the case as an accident. And who are you or anybody to tell anybody any different? Because unless you've seen stuff that I haven't seen, then you've seen the same as me, and you've just chosen to conclude it differently. You know, the adventures with purpose, Nick. So in order to think that this was just an accident, you are completely thinking, well, Adventures with Purpose said what they said and constructed that video and the title and everything purely for clicks and views. That's all they did. Over dramatized it, made it look like it was something it wasn't, and there we have it. Nick the tow truck guy. You're not questioning that whatsoever. You're saying that that was another car, different people. And look, it was proven that that vehicle was seen by Nick on the day he thought he saw it, which was after the party. His partner said that it was on her father's birthday that this interaction happened. Even if that's not true, which the camera footage would say it's not, surely you then have to question why Nick and his partner would say that it was that day, trying to make it look like Kiely was still around after the vehicle was in the reservoir. Raises questions, because I've not seen that situation answered by law enforcement. I've not heard them come forward and say who that was, make a statement. Nothing. It's madness. The 12:36 call, and guys commenting in my comments and saying, well, it's obvious, she just got the time wrong. Well, how is it obvious? How is it obvious that while they're putting a timeline together, that they came up with the time exactly 12:36? Because I would say that they came up with that time, like I've said before, because the timestamp on the call on the phone showed it as that. But again, this isn't answered. You're speculating that she made an error, just like I'm speculating that that call happened and someone else potentially had Kiely's phone and was utilising it to make it look like she was alive after she wasn't. And nothing has been done or said to prove otherwise. The fact that Kiely was being given alcohol, we don't even know if that's true or not. The toxicology report could be argued either way. Maybe the time that went by meant that the volume of alcohol in the liver was depleting over time, and that correlated perfectly with what she would have drunk on the night. But then what we're saying is that an older girl, Sammy, was giving her 16-year-old not friend alcohol that led to her death, and there is nothing happening because of it. How would you feel if that was your daughter, your child, who went to a party and never came home? Her friends did, they were fine, but her friends left her at a party and she never came home. How would you feel about that? Would you be hugging the friends? Would you be praising them? Would you be talking about them, saying how good they are, how much they're helping, how brave they've been when they talk about it? I know I wouldn't. But maybe we just live in a different world now. But in my eyes and in my heart, Kiely Rodni was wronged as a 16-year-old child by older people who were around her and could have prevented what happened from happening, and from a mum who should have done more to make sure that her 16-year-old daughter was not put in harm's way. And yet again, like I said yesterday, there's always people to blame. And it's hard. It's hard to hear, and I'll get coshed for it. How dare you say that? Can't believe it. Said something about Michael Vaughan's family yesterday. Had someone in comments, I can't believe you said that. That what happened to Michael was because of the family. Yes, it was. It was because of the family. Because a little 5-year-old boy shouldn't have been wandering the streets. Shouldn't have been out in a situation at that time of the evening, if it was that time of the evening, to get taken. And the house, when the police turned up, stinking of weed, shouldn't have happened. People need to be held accountable when things go wrong, because the more people don't get held accountable, then the more this stuff is going to happen. It's going to keep happening. And it's not the people who ask questions who are causing it. It's not the people who look into it and want the answers, demand the answers, won't accept everything at face value. These are not the people who are going to make this continue to happen. It's you, the people who will simply accept what you're told and not question things. So what do you want? Do you want to continue living in a world where we see deaths getting covered up? We see children going missing. We see trafficking increase. I told you a story about where someone had written in to Let's Read. It's an identical story to Kiely's, but with a happier ending. She goes to a party with older college kids, thinking that they're her friends. She's drinking with them. She wakes up in a different state in a house. And luckily, no one else is awake in the house. She manages to get out, get to law enforcement. And law enforcement tell her you were part of a trafficking situation. It happens. Open your fucking eyes to it. I'll catch you all in the next one.